So I'm back with another one. This is going to be a little bit different, something new for me. Um, so there might be some hiccups and some burps with this one, but be gentle. I'm just trying something new. Saw a couple articles this morning out of Michigan and Kentucky about measures that are being implemented in those two states, respectively. One is in Michigan. If you have two residences, i.e., you own one up north and own one down south, you can no longer travel between the two, and you can't go over to other people's residences now to hang out. I thought that was a bunch of fake bullshit till I pulled it up, and I'm going to show you the actual Michigan executive order. And then I saw in Kentucky where the governor is stating that if you go to church this coming Sunday, which is Easter, which is the holiest day, well, kind of second holiest day of the Christian religion, they're going to take down your license plate numbers in the parking lot, and then you're going to be quarantined for 14 days at home. I'm, I'm flabbergasted. I can't. Once you think we've reached the pinnacle of craziness, somebody just grabs the air thing or the floor jack and just ratchets it on up. So I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to do some math for you. I'm hoping this makes sense. I know most of you that watch my videos agree with what I'm saying, but I'm trying to figure out a way to wake up some other people. Apparently bashing them over their head like I normally do doesn't work very well. So let's try it this way. Let's try showing actual numbers and showing actual math. So I want to start with a few things first. Right here is the definition of tyranny. Just going to throw this one out there. Oppressive power exerted by government in which an absolute power is vested in a single ruler, especially one characteristic, blah, blah, blah. The office, authority, administration of a tyrant. A rigorous condition imposed by outside agency or force. Just throwing that out there for you guys. Just so you can see what the actual definitions of terms are. Quarantine. Quarantine, the origin of the word is 40 days. That's where the origin of the word comes from. So that's my definition here. And is a term during which a ship arriving in port and suspected of carrying contagious diseases is held in isolation from shore. I bring this definition up because quarantines are used to segregate sick or suspected sick or infected people from the general population. They're not used to keep people in their house that are not sick. Just, throwing that out there. So on your screen now, this is Michigan's Executive Order 2020-42 for COVID-19. It is their executive order. This is from Michigan.gov's website. So I'm not making this up. This is not some Fox News conspiracy thing, right? This just has the bunch at the beginning of it. Let's call it out of here. One I have highlighted for you right here. Subject to exceptions in below, all individuals currently living within the state of Michigan are ordered to stay at home or at their place of residence. Subject to the same exceptions, all public and private gatherings of any numbers of people occurring among persons not part of a single household are prohibited. Let's scroll down a little bit long further. You can read this if you want to. You can see the website up there. So this is not me making this stuff up. Oh, where are you at? Let me keep searching. There it is, right here. Number 3. Between two residences, individuals may also travel between two residences in this state through April 10th, which was, yesterday. After that date, travel between two residences is not permitted. There's a lot of people in Michigan that own houses up north that travel. They go up north. They have, like, you can consider them beach houses. They're on the lakes or whatever. That's their spring, summer getaway places. Not anymore. Not while this is going on. Apparently the governor of Michigan said, no. You're not allowed to do that. So I got another question. If you own two houses, you live in one and rent out the other one, and something happens to the first house, whereas the house that you're renting, and you need to go over there to fix it, can you go fix it? And allowed to travel between two residences. Technically, you own both. Are you allowed to? I'm just asking a question. Just me. So we'll move on. So the thing with Kentucky, um, I didn't pull it up. It's a Fox article. You can look it up. But Rand Paul basically came out and said governor needs to, basically step down a little bit. But basically, Kentucky saying if you go to church on Sunday, physically go to a church on Sunday, whether it be a drive-through service or an in-person service inside the church, they're going to take down your license plate number and force quarantine you for 14 days. No testing, no identification if you're positive or not for corona. None of that stuff's going to happen. You're just going to be mandatorily required to quarantine for 14 days, regardless of your essential person papers. You're stuck at home now. Don't you dare go to church. So I got a question for both the governors, and I'm going to go into some data here in a minute. Ramadan starts April 23rd. Considering Dearborn is the second largest Muslim population in the United States, and Dearborn just happens to be in the state of Michigan, and Michigan is also doing the same thing with churches, are you going to do the same thing for Muslims that are going to be celebrating, if you will, Ramadan? You going to prevent them from going to their church, their mosques? You going to keep them in their homes? How's this going to play out? This will be interesting. I wonder how many of these restrictions will expire on April 22nd when the numbers start going down. I digress. So I'm going to bring up some of these websites, and I'm going to show you some math that I did. So let's start with Michigan. All these draconian measures, all these things going on with the stay at home and not allowed to travel. Michigan's population is 9.987 million people. This is as of 2019's data, but it is what it is. Michigan coronavirus numbers over here. This is as of today, or as of yesterday, excuse me. Confirmed cases, confirmed recovered, confirmed death. That's kind of a funny number. I'll get to that in a minute. But number of deaths. Okay. So we'll show you a couple things, and I'm going to show you the math on Michigan. So this is Michigan.gov's website. You can see it right here. This is not me, some obscure website. It's their website. I wanted to point out a couple things, and I'll show you the math. So right here, total test in April, as of April the 8th in Michigan, right? So, yeah. Look at what they're doing. The blue is a negative test. The orange are the positive test. So if you put these two together on the 30th of March, that's the total number of tests that they conducted. 30 March. And if you look over here, they did a total of 7,283 tests. Okay. They put the positives on top and the negatives on the bottom. Which one of these are larger? It looks to me like those negative tests are larger. But look at the way they put the graph together. This is something a fifth grader can do. And that a fifth grader can do better. I'm going to show you numbers in a minute. But look, so this, on the 30th of March, 31st, 1st of April, all the blues are larger than the orange. So more people are testing negative than are testing positive. Those numbers play out over here, but I took these numbers, put them on a spreadsheet to show you something that they're also not showing you. Okay, so you get the idea, right? So Michigan is doing all this draconian stuff based on the whole fear of the corona stuff, right? So this is how you do the math. There are 22,000 783 cases of positive corona in Michigan. You divide that by the population of 9,987,000 people. That gives you a number of that. Oh wait, did I mess? No, I got it. Times it by 100 to get the percentage. So 0.2% of the population of Michigan is what this virus is affecting. 0.2% of the population. And you can't go to your neighbor's house because you can infect grandma and grandpa. Another thing to look at is total number of deaths, 1,281, divided by the 9,987,000 cases. Equals, times that by 100 equals, oh, look at that, 0.012% of the population has died from corona. If you believe the death counts, if you believe what those numbers being reported are correct, we have people getting thrown into the COVID death count that, I don't know, they were positive, but COVID was not a contributing nor primary factor of death, but they get checked to block for a death for COVID. But, hey, we'll just go with it. So anyway, that's your percentage of people that have died. And now because of those numbers, because of the 0.2% of the population being positive, and because of 0.012, or we'll call it 0.013 round up, have died, you can't go to your neighbor's house. You can't go to your second house. You can't go to your lake house. You can't sell certain goods in the stores. You can't go to church because of those numbers. Just throwing this out there. So now we'll look at the numbers that I did to show you something that they don't show you. So if you look at these is the date of the test on this column, the positive test, the negative test, the total test, the positives. I added this column. I highlighted the two so you can see the difference. I added this column to show you. If you look at each one, look which number happens to be higher. There are 2 or maybe 3 exceptions where this number was higher, the positive count. But look all the way down. Look what those numbers. Look if they don't show you. Now Michigan started off with and they're still mostly sticking to it, the high probability testing group, meaning in order to be tested, you have to have symptoms, have traveled, been around somebody that's a positive case, that kind of stuff. That's what that's the guidelines that most all states are still using. Michigan still is, but Michigan is also in the Detroit metropolitan area starting to open up the testing to more and more people. They're doing not strictly the high probability group, but before, I think it was 4 days ago, maybe 5 days ago, they started doing all those tests or opening the test up in the Detroit metropolitan area. But outside of there, in the other places in Michigan, it's still the high probability testing. But they still have more people testing negative than are testing positive. So let's go down. I did some totals down at the bottom for you. So I just want to show it to you. So if you scroll down to the bottom here, there are 25,500. This is their numbers that are positive. Oh, look. Damn, near twice as many are negative. That's strange, isn't it? Total tests. So on average, of those tested in the high probability group, 34,000 or 34.14% test positive. The greater percentage, almost double, test negative. That is still in the high probability testing category. But another thing I want to bring out was right here. Look at that recovery rate over the death rate. Now you notice there's a huge difference. If you add recovered and death, you don't come up with this number because there's still people that are going through going through, recovering, or dying from corona. That's more than double. More people have recovered than have died. Death rate, right here, more people have recovered than have died. Michigan, it's kind of an odd number, isn't it? I think something's way off with that one. Anyway, so now let's look at Kentucky. Kentucky's population is 4.468 million people. Kentucky's corona counts. Again, let's go back to our handy dandy calculator. So we have Kentucky's population, or I'm sorry, there's 1,452 cases in Kentucky. This is as of the 10th of April numbers. Divided by 4,468,000, right? Yep. Equals, and then times that by 100. So 0.032% of the population is positive in Kentucky, but you know, you can't go to church. You can't go do things. You can't go enjoy yourself. You can't go enjoy your First Amendment rights because of 0.032% of the population. Are you awake yet? So that's the percent of people that have tested positive. The percent of the population that have died from this, let's do 79 divided by 4,468,000 people equals, and then times that by 100. 0.00017, let's call it 18% of the population in Kentucky have died from this disease. If you still, again, if you believe the numbers, but you can't go to church without getting ticketed, fined, arrested, getting a notice to appear, whatever, because of 0.0018% of the population. It's right here. The math doesn't lie. You saw me do it. So I bring all this up. These are just two examples. These are just two states of the 42 that have instituted these stay-at-home measures, and every state's a little different. Everyone has varying degrees of what they do that have enacted these, right? But those are the numbers they're going off of. These are the numbers being reported by their state agencies up to the CDC, the NIH, and all that stuff. They know the numbers. They see the numbers. They're the ones that report the numbers. The state level Department of Health, or whatever they call it in the individual states, they're collecting all this data from the hospitals. They're rolling the numbers up to the CDC and NIH. The governors of these states, the city councilmen, the mayors, the state legislatures all see these numbers. And yet you can't go to church because of less than 1% of the population of that state is infected. Because of less than 0.1% of the state population has died from this virus. Don't you go to church. So I want to show you one more thing. Let's go back to the desktop here. I want to show you what this... So this isn't about religion, by the way. My whole thing is not about religion. I'm just using this as an example. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, which they haven't done, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, which they are doing, or abridging the freedom of speech, which they are doing, or the press, take what you want with the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble, which they are infringing upon, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So if we want to petition the government for redress of grievances right now, you can't do it. You can't go to the state house, the state senate, the state governor's office. You can't go there because you're not allowed to travel unless you have your essential papers. So This is about amendments. This is about the Constitution. This is about what's being infringed upon. Each state has their own constitution, which grants the governor powers, um, but it also has a First Amendment right, just like the federal Constitution does. The state constitution cannot supersede or nor override your rights that are stated in the Constitution, the federal Constitution. But here we are allowing governors to prevent you from your free practice of your religion. And don't do the online thing with me, please, dear God, don't do that. Just shut up. Free practice of religion is free practice of religion. Free practice of religion is doing what you want to do as dictated by your religion. If you want to go to church, if you want to view it online, you want to do whatever, that's up to the individual. That is not up to the government to dictate nor mandate or depict what can and cannot be done. Period. Full stop. You cannot do this. States are being allowed to do this. You can't peaceably assemble, not only in church, which is a big one right now, because if you go to, so Kentucky's putting out, if you go to a church on Sunday, they're going to take down your license plate number and now you're going to be forced quarantine for 2 weeks. I don't know, let's go with the Fourth Amendment. Let's go with the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment, when you haven't been convicted of a crime. Where's your day in court? When do you get to face a jury of your peers? When do you get to face your accuser? Now you're being home arrested for 14 days by force of the state government. What happens if you say, I ain't doing it? Are you going to be arrested again and have more charges put on you? I'm going to take you back to what I opened with. Let's go here. Let's go here. The word tyranny gets thrown around a lot and has been. It was done under Obama. It was done under Reagan. It was done under Bush. We're living it. We are living it right now. This virus in the United States affects less than 1% of the population. Less than 1%. The deaths and mortalities only affect those that are infected, and only a small percentage of them that are infected. Came out in Chicago. There was a lady who came out who works in the testing side for all the COVID stuff. 30, excuse me, 30 to 60% of the people that you're testing are coming up negative for COVID, but positive for the antibodies. What does that mean? How would you process that? That means that they were at one point infected, recovered, probably didn't even know they had it, or they were the ones that everybody's been talking about late November, early December. A lot of people, they started the early flu season, but everybody was testing negative for the flu, but had respiratory issues. But they got over it. Now, this lady in Chicago saying 30 to 60% of the people she tests are testing positive for antibodies, but negative for COVID. If you start testing the general population, if every person in the United States was tested, you will see a lot of people had this, a lot more than what's being reported, and you will see the mortality rate go below 0.1%. The more people that have it or have had it and recovered will drop your mortality rate. That's what you're not being told. Why do you think they're still doing a high probability testing? It isn't just solely because we only have so many tests. We have plenty of tests. Start doing population samples. Take like the city of New York, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Miami, New Orleans. Take the high population centers, the places that have the highest counts of COVID. Start doing a population sample of everybody else in that area. Start testing them. You can start doing random sampling within the city of New York. You can take like the borough of Bronx and compare it to the borough of Brooklyn. Take a suburb of Chicago or a section of Chicago or a certain area of Chicago, Cook County, and test them on a random sampling. Why are we not doing that yet? Because the number of cases and recoveries will go up. The mortality rate will go down below 1%. And that would totally blow the narrative. But stay at home. Worship your God over the internet. Don't do it in person. Don't go to your beach house. Don't go to your cabin in the woods, because that's against the law now. I hope this helps. I hope it wakes some of you up. Math is math, people. Numbers don't lie. People do.